Today, we're joined by a writer whose work spans decades of modern horror, across novels, short fiction, and the spaces in between. John Palisano is a Bram Stoker Award-winning author, former HWA president, and a voice deeply invested in what horror does for readers and writers alike. We're talking about craft, longevity, community, and what it means to keep writing in the dark on purpose. Not gonna loop. The theme song. The theme song.
And I still haven't sent that to anybody.
Please send it to Stephanie, please.
I'll send it to Stephanie. I will, I promise.
Okay.
I'll do it immediately after the show. No, I won't.
Okay.
I'll try.
No, you won't. Especially after that scream that I just...
Oh, it's okay. There's other people on the other side of that door. She's in a good mood.
If you're new to the channel, I am Sako Toomey, artist and author and a bunch of other stuff. But we'll just mention that I'm published 6 times over and I'm working on 3 whips. I've been working on my craft for decades and now I'd like to share my skills with you guys.
And I am Dwan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon. And I'm also a pain in Sako's ass.
Especially when you lip sync my own intro. Yeah.
Because I know it. Just in case.
Just in
but
case.
Of course, I write stuff, I film stuff, and I talk to people. Oh, and I get to watch Scream 7 next week.
Oh.
I'm so excited. It's my favorite franchise, right? Like, it's probably not my first horror movie, but the first horror movie I know I intentionally watched. And it's had the greatest impact on me as a fan of horror. So it's an important franchise.
However, we have this wonderful guest.
We do. I was going to get there. I was just going to get to my Scream story first.
Okay, well
I wasn't
then...
the story. Didn't do it? Okay, I'm gonna. Anyhow, that means a lot to me. It does. It does mean a lot to me. But that's not why we're here. We're here for our fantastic, wonderful, amazing guest, someone I get to call my friend, Mr. John Palisano.
Yay! Hi.
You want to introduce yourself, sir? Tell people who you are. I mean, the opening was pretty dope. I mean, I'm not sure how you're going to top that.
I don't think so. I think people that's better than I would have said it. I always just say like I'm just someone who makes stuff. You know, I write stuff primarily.
You know,
you can't say I write stuff, I film stuff, I talk to people. You can't say that. Yeah. That's my line.
That's your line. My line. So I have to do my own thing here. But yeah, I think that I'm an investigator of dark stories. You know, and I like to bring those to. Bring those to people, and that I think that's pretty much whatever medium I'm using at the moment, be it writing or film or songs or whatever I'm messing around with. It's all the same. Primarily writing.
see that goes on a business card. Investigator of whatever you just said. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I just made that up, so we'll have to rewind it. I'll have to
right.
I have to rewind and write. What did I say?
There are so many times I say cool stuff, and I'm just like, ooh, what was it I just say? What did I just say?
I make reels about that stuff.
I mean, that's how the I write stuff, I film stuff, I talk to people thing started. Because Sako has this big elongated introduction, and then I'm like, hi. And one day I just said, I write stuff, I film stuff, I talk to people. Because that's essentially everything that I do wrapped up in the simplest little sentence. And then I was just like, oh, I like that. All right, I'm gonna put that on the thing. So it's on my website and everything. Now we had a really interesting time at this brewery. I can't remember what the name of the place was. I'll give them a shout out. But there was a panel discussion hosted by Jenny Kiefer, who was just on the show yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Oh, right on.
She joined us for our review of Long Legs. Longlegs. That's a movie. That is a movie.
That is a 1-star movie.
That is a film. Yeah. Our grading system is an interesting grading system, but in our grading system, like 1 star. He got all of his points. He got all of his points from production. I think we probably could have managed to give it like a half star at some point, but I guess between the three of us, there's just things that we just couldn't overlook, and so the categories didn't give them no stars. But
interesting. I've not seen it, so I've not heard anybody say I should, which is interesting.
It is a film. It is an interesting film. I always remind people that just because this film gets a bad review, or some people just like maybe like just they don't get it, it doesn't mean that people shouldn't watch the movie.
I agree.
I always encourage people. We make a point to say in the show. Actually, I didn't get a chance to say this completely yesterday, but everyone should watch. Even the dumbest movies deserve to be watched. If you go on like popularity, no one should like Jack Frost. No one should like Velocipaster. No one should like Sharknado. No one should like Evil Bong. No one should like these weird Bubba the Redneck Werewolf. No one should be watching any of these movies. There's a whole movie about killer pants, and no one should be watching that movie. But we did that review. That was actually Jenny's suggestion. But all of those movies that I just mentioned and all the other ones, they deserve to be watched, because even in bad film, and we talked about this when we had Jason William Allen on the show from Hallowed Hills, even bad films can influence you in your work in the best ways. Even if it's, I don't want to do that, or I get why he did that, it just didn't land. But he still did it his way, their way, her way. And I'm encouraged to still do it my way, despite the fact it may not be popular. So I encourage people to go watch Longlegs, go watch Jack Frost, go watch Slacks, go watch, maybe don't watch Evil Bong, maybe not.
Maybe not.
But fuck it, why not? Go watch Evil Bong. Go watch that too.
Watch videos about Evil Bong.
That actually might be better.
That might be better.
But there was this panel discussion with you and a few other authors, and I went to go to the panel because you were in town. So I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna go see John. And then you and I had like hours of great conversation after that.
Yeah.
And it is an honor and a privilege, sir, to have you on our show. And I want to thank you again for making it out and making time. And you get to wrap up the season, man. You're the last show of the season.
Oh man, no pressure.
No pressure at all. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
I'm good under pressure. So it's fine.
Well, no, good.
In all seriousness, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, but yeah, no, I think I that was an amazing event just for that, and I think that's one of my favorite things about events is it's not the actual program a lot of the times that I love. It's what they call like couch conning. It's like it's between when you're hanging out with people on a couch somewhere or at the bar. It's 2:00 in the morning and you're talking about weird, obscure Cronenberg short films or something.
Right.
And which happened to me in New Orleans a long time ago. I was at a convention, one of the World Horrors, and me and Charles Colliot were in the French Quarter, and we were talking about weird movies and books all night long. And then I said, "What's that red thing in the sky? Is there fire?" He goes, "John, I think the sun's coming up." And I went, "Oh my gosh, I got to be on a panel at 9." But it was so great because we talked all night, and to me that was more fun than the panel. And I loved the panel, but I came in and everybody thought I had been drinking all night. I'm like, no, I've been up talking about horror movies all night. And they're like, what? And it was like a room of like 200 people, and it was a panel on Clive Barker, and I was the newbie, and I was on a panel with Douglas Winter and all these other people, and Doug Winter takes it and he says everything I was going to say in the first 5 minutes. It's like, oh my god, and I'm like so tired. I'm like, I probably looked hungover, but I was so glad that Ramsey Campbell was in the audience because they're like, well, what do you think? I'm like, well, before I say anything, Ramsey Campbell knew Clive when he started and gave him his big break, and I knew Ramsey was going to go blah, 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 blah. So and then he did, and I was like, thank God I'm saved, because I was fried. But anyway, but the couch conning thing is such a great thing, and we definitely had that there, and really good stuff because you can only do so much in a panel, and you kind of like trade sound bites in a way almost.
Almost exactly that. It's almost exactly that. And that's kind of any panel anywhere you go. And we always encourage people to build community and go to conventions and do things. So those are some sometimes very valuable sound bites. So don't let that discourage you, people.
100%.
But we have always talked about on this show, because we always talk about Imaginarium, because where me and Sako met. There's a spot in the lobby of that hotel. It's just a couch, and it's referred to as the couch. And so much more business happens on that particular couch. Panels are great, but it's
especially late at night. Holy cow.
Yes. If you are on a panel about marketing, right, then you're going to get a bunch of marketing experts in a room full of people who want to do better with marketing, right? It's marketing focus. But on this couch, you have a horror writer and a romance author and a poet and a songwriter and a film director and all these, and an actor who's just trying to meet film people to get involved and get themselves on camera. And all of these people are just talking. They're just talking. And it's the most beautiful thing to just see people talking. Because that is when you learn about a person, you learn to trust a person, and it's those genuine foundations of relationships that end up turning into production companies. They end up turning into anthologies. They end up turning into podcasts. They end up turning into all of these fantastic things. They just come out of conversation. And all of those things are true. My production company, Hallowed Hills Entertainment, bunch of friends who decided to get together and do stuff. Sako and the Moon is literally me and Sako talking on Discord. And we're like, hey, these are pretty good conversations. Let's film them and put them out. And then the Two of Crones is a whole thing because people had conversations about putting short stories together in an anthology. And now they're on anthology number 4, leading into anthology number 5 coming up later in the year, I'm sure. So all these things come up because people got together and had conversations. It's amazing what happens when people get together and just talk. Which is why after just talking with John Palisano and our friend Romana from the band Banshee, I was like, let's just have you on the show and just talk. But of course, we can't just talk. Sako has to do the cool, responsible thing or whatever. But now, because of this season in particular, she's also quite known now for creating these incredibly wonderful questions and that are really super insightful. And I'm your friend. I can't deny you these questions. I can't deny you the opportunity to be asked questions from the great Sako Toomey. So let me shut the fuck up, because I told you I can't shut up. It's not what I do. This is not my job on the show. It's to shut up. That's not my job. But it is Sako's job to ask all the really important questions. And I'm glad that, I ain't want to jinx it, but I'm glad that this program is working better than yesterday.
So far, so good.
Knocking on wood.
Knocking on wood. Knocking on soft, cushy. Yeah. All right.
Whenever you're ready, Sako.
I have these questions. Before publication, awards, or community roles, what first pulled you toward horror as a reader?
My parents.
Oh.
Big time. My parents were voracious readers growing up. And, I was telling you a little bit before the show, my dad was a director in New York. He directed TV news for CBS for decades. But he was also a filmmaker before that. And he wrote some sexploitation films in the 60s. And they were huge. And my mom was a huge reader. And they turned me on to Stephen King. But more importantly, one of my favorite moments is I was reading Stephen King as a wee lad. And my mom said, hey, I just got this new book about vampires you might like. And it was Interview with the Vampire.
Nice.
And that book blew my mind. And I think I was 12 or 13. And it just opened my world in a huge way. And even up to the last week of when my dad, before he passed, he was still trading books with me, and this was a while ago, and he said, "Oh, you got to read this new writer, Stephen Graham Jones." So I'm like, "Whoa, who's that?" My dad was hipper than me, even. He was always looking for new horror stuff, um, and when he worked in the city, and he would go and get like Cemetery Dance, and we'd trade them back and forth and say, "What story did you like?" And so for me, that was really my big gateway. Is they kind of indoctrinated me. But we could talk for an hour about all we did with them, and growing up. But that was really my formative. And then of course I found my own works at that age. Like I found Poppy Bright and Clive Barker, and those sorts of really subversive, dark, strange um stories that I remember reading In the Hills and the Cities and just being blown away by Clive Barker. If you haven't read it, I don't want to give it away.
I haven't.
No. Yeah.
I love doing the show because I get all these crazy recommendations from people. So like, don't spoil
Yeah.
it. Don't spoil it.
I mean, there's a reason Clive Barker, and yes, Hellraiser, Pinhead, yes, but before
Mr.
then, the books
Gone.
were
Mr.
Be Gone,
Gone.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just so many amazing works in there, and highly recommended. So for me, that was my formidable, etchings in the fire. Were those authors and things.
Early in your career, what kind of stories were you trying to tell, even if you didn't really have the skill set to fully land them yet?
Yeah, I've always been really attracted to cosmic horror, dark horror, body horror, really deep philosophical horror. I always try to write in that area. Who knows how successful, right? Especially when you're first starting out, you don't have a lot of experience as a teenager, to really, you don't understand, real loss and real things like that. Most people and able to articulate it. So I think definitely I took some time to try to get those threads right. And I think it's still something I work on. I think we all still aim for those.
Always learning.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
Always learning. Yeah.
The true signature of the best are the ones that keep learning.
Yeah. And every time you finish one story or book or script, the next one's another blank page, and you have to do it again. It's not like you get to like.
You are always a better writer than you were, a day ago.
Last piece, yeah.
Hopefully,
From
right?
your last.
Yeah, hopefully. That is the goal. That is the goal.
Yeah, for sure. So.
But I still feel like that's one of the most important lessons to hear, particularly from someone who is so like as successful as you've been, and so well respected. Because you are a very well respected person in our at least the horror space that I've been privy to enter, and it's like I said, that's why it's such an honor to have you on the show, and it's so important to hear someone who's out there doing it, who has done it on such a respected level, and to hear them say, keep trying, like keep learning, keep growing. Where this ladder doesn't have a top, like there's no top of the ladder. You just keep climbing, right? Yeah.
And what fun is it if you've learned it all and have figured it all out, then what? Then check out. It's who wants to check out. I think one of the great things about story, even and especially horror, is it's always reinventing itself. There's always a new voice to find. There's always a new way to tell the same old stories that we're used to through a different lens, and to me that's endlessly fascinating. I feel sorry for anybody that is myopic in that way, because you have such a low barrier financially and to get a book or a story and go into a totally different world. And I think that's one of the, and as a writer too, it's an amazing gift to be able to say, I can go anywhere I want to. I'm only limited by my imagination. I don't have to just go through, do what Stephen King did or anybody else did. I can be my own guide here and through this weird world. And I can express my weird, strange, peculiar things that I've been through. What an awesome thing, and all it costs is a pen. Or pencil.
The power to play God is what I call it. The power to play God.
Yes.
Because in the universe that we create, that's the role we play.
Yeah.
The role of the author is essentially to play God. And you can do literally anything to these characters. They can go through anything and experience anything. You can use it as therapy and explore, I wish I made these life choices. So you can either uproot your entire life and try to go down this other path, or just write the path in a story the way you think it would play out. Maybe it turns into a romantic comedy. Maybe it turns into a dark horror. Who knows how things turn? And the other beautiful thing is sometimes you plan it to go one way and the story writes itself in this other direction. And how beautiful is it to be able to explore that? Right?
Yeah.
To go along with what you're saying, like you can create a world that's even brand new to you in your own imagination and just explore that. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I love that you said that and shared that with us. Sako, how are you feeling over there?
I don't know. I was freezing.
You were a little bit. I got you though. I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I think you're on question number 3.
You've written across novels, novellas, and short fiction. How does the shape of a story change the kind of fear you're able to explore?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because I think that each medium has its own strengths, and things that you can play up to, and same with scripts and plays, and even songs, and anything that you write, anything where you're telling a story. I think knowing what they are is important, like knowing what you have to work with. Sometimes I've read books that I thought should have been novellas. And I've often read novellas where I thought, well, wait, this should have been a whole world, or a short story that should have been a book. And I think it's a very difficult thing to know right off the bat. And for me, sometimes I'm asked, I'm starting what I thought was a short story, and I go, this is way more, know. And I have to tell, myself, oh, this is going to be longer than a short story, It's hard, because in a short story, you're limited with space, of course.
Yeah.
Same with a novella. So to me, it's a kind of an exploratory process. One of the things I've done to figure that out now is to kind of do outlining and kind of do free writing and say, well, okay, what is this going to need to be successful as a short story? What is it going to need to be successful as a novella? And if it's way more than will fit, then I realize I'm really working on a book.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of my litmus test that I use these days. But I mean, as far as the particularities, I think short story, and it also depends on the market. Are you doing a weird fiction, surreal thing for, weird fiction, monthly or something, or are you doing something that's more of like a popular fiction kind of, beginning, middle, and end, Tales from the Dark Side or Masters of Horror kind of short story, where they want it self-contained, or something like Ellen Datlow, style, which isn't as surreal and weird and amorphous, but there's others that want that. So I think knowing that market, that you're writing for can be important. If you're writing it on spec by yourself, then whatever. But I hope
I think that's something we mentioned yesterday when we were doing the review for Longlegs. I hope this doesn't negatively impact your future viewing of it. But one of the things that we said is that we feel like it was too long for the story that they actually told, and that if they shortened it to like a 30-minute short film, it'd been flawless. This movie as a 30-minute short film would have been fantastic. Probably would have gotten like 4 stars. But because they were trying to fill a runtime or whatever they were exploring, we felt like some of the bits didn't land maybe where they were thought to or expected to. And that's one of the reasons why I got the low score that it did. You guys can check the review out. It's going to be on the website, of course, or on YouTube. You can just go see what me, Sako, and Jenny, sadly, just mostly me and Jenny, discussed in yesterday's episode. I love that. As I said that, she froze with that expression. I love that. While she's frozen, I'll go ahead and get into the next question. Your work often blends psychological, cosmic, and emotional horror. What kind of unease interests you now that didn't when you first started?
I think now I'm very interested in horror that's not traditional. Um, in there's a lot more emphasis these days on literary horror. That's more like family-based horror, like of Eric LaRocca. Is really interesting to me. Um, Clay McLeod Chapman's books, which are very, very much of the moment. His last book was really kind of a veiled, a treatise on being woke or unwoke. And
Right.
to me, it's really that stuff is very interesting to me. Um, I think that's there's always something again like to dovetail back. There's a lot of areas that haven't really been explored in a really respectful, nice way that we're starting to see horror do. And again, horror is reflecting the times as always.
Always has been,
And
yeah.
it's really interesting to see how everything's shifting. We've gotten away from the big slasher horror to a degree. Although that's coming back now.
It is.
Again, it's circling right back, and slasher is coming big because thanks to Stephen Graham Jones and Scream 7. Very interesting. They're rebooting F-13 again.
Yeah.
So really exciting, that's. But what I think that's really interesting too, even in the slashers, they're not just remaking the original, Scream. They're bringing in, and they have religiously almost brought in whatever was going on at the moment. And I think that's one of the great brilliances of that Scream and Kevin Williamson's writing in general, is he built this architecture where you can bring in all these current things that are happening that are just vital today to an audience at the moment, not 15 or 20 years ago, and it still works.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love it, because for me, the original Scream was Wes Craven's New Nightmare. If you ever watch that, it's so close. Like, Robert Englund calls and he's like Ghostface. It's even like, "Hello, Nancy. It's Fred." And you're like, wait, that's the same voice, the same ring. And so it's kind of like this template, but they morphed that into Scream, and the first Scream morphed into, what we've seen in 5 and 6. Yeah. It's so interesting. And I think that's why they're so successful, and some of the other franchises aren't, because some of the other franchises have been. And forgive me, I know we're going off on a thing here.
But we do tangents here. Tangents here. That's fine.
Good. Because I think that they're not addressing and morphing with the times. They're trying to just reprint the same story with a couple of small changes, and I think that's where something like the Hellraiser franchise went wrong, is because, the first 3, they really were kind of changing. By Hellraiser 3, they were bringing in all these other interesting things. Let's bring Pinhead into the club scene. Let's bring the Cenobites out of, Leviathan's world and bring them into our world more. And, wow, this is cool. And then they started doing all these campy things, and it wasn't quite as successful. Same with Friday the 13th. They started doing all this like silliness instead of, and Freddy too. I hate, but
yeah.
And I think that's, I don't even know what the original question was, but but we're getting somewhere.
I mean, where we land is where we land. It's like,
yeah.
But you make a great point that's one of the things that makes remakes, why there's a problem with remakes when it comes to horror. There are obviously tropes. I mean, vampires have tropes, werewolves have tropes, zombies have tropes, even slashers and serial killer movies, like they have tropes. And tropes are fine. They're how we gauge the movie in most cases. But whatever the framework is for your particular story, if you're going to do more than one, it has to be able to support more than one. There she is. It has to be able to support, for now, it has to be able to support more than one movie. The framework of the original Scream by itself wouldn't have supported a franchise. It was the sequel. It was a horror movie sequel about horror movie sequels. And that was what set up the creation of Stab. I'm saving a whole Scream conversation for a whole different show. But the creation of Stab to be the in-universe reflection of Scream itself, while Scream itself is a reflection of horror itself, that inception level of thinking and formatting and presenting is the only reason why the franchise as a franchise still exists. it would be 2 movies and that'd be the game over and it'd be done. You couldn't do anymore without the introduction of the stab movie. But as that applies to what you were saying, by having that instrument, we're able to now look at how things changed from 96 to 2000, 2010 to 2026. Like, we can use the same format to reflect on that. If all you're doing is remaking the same movie that you did in 1978, you've lost us. You lost us off top. Horror has to grow. It has to reflect on what's happening now. So the original question was, what scared you before compared to now? And this all ties into what did work, what does work, and how horror, including your own works and the works around us, have all changed over time and how they have to reflect the times in order to stay relevant. See, right. I brought it back. I told you I could do this live thing.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. I'm here all day.
Am I still frozen?
Nope, you're still good here. Question 5.
You're thawed.
You've been deeply involved in the horror community through the HWA. How did stepping into leadership change the way you see the genre or your place in it?
Well, that's the HWA. Again, is an organization that I think does its best when it changes and reflects its membership's needs and wants and desires. And for me, I got in accidentally, and may be hard to believe, but I started going to conventions and somebody asked me if I could help stuff goodie bags, a long time ago. I'm going to date myself, if I tell you when. And that just led to them saying, you should volunteer on the board. And I was on the board, and you definitely learn the ins and outs of the industry very quickly. Being on a board like that, you really see people at their best and worst very fast.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And, but I think for me, I love writers. I love the process, and to be able to help people, that's always my bottom line. Am I going to help people by doing something? Yes. And if that outweighs the negatives, I try to do it. I got into the higher positions because nobody else would do it, to be quite honest with you. Nobody, because it's like,
works.
It's like literally like walking into an archery field and saying, okay, have at it. And it literally is like that. And it's not easy at all. And it's all for free, which people forget. You're volunteering for this. It's like volunteering to be, the first person out of the battalion ship, facing the gun turrets, on Normandy Beach. It kind of feels like that. I'll do it for free too. Just cut me up. But I think that the values, I hope that I helped more people along the way than I could do just by myself. But yeah, I think that to answer the question about, how did it change how I look at the industry and stuff, it did, because I saw a lot of things that I was able to help fix in ways. Didn't totally fix. I mean, because there's always going to be people. Are going to be people. To quote Linda Addison, who talked me off of many a ledge over the years. She'd be like, John, it's just people being people, and like, okay, there's always going to be another publisher that's screwing writers. There's always going to be a writer that's acting up. But there's always going to be new people to, enjoy, who are passionate again, that need the help, that need the guidance, that you're going to save from those bad publishers or, things like that. As a writer, to be honest too, I took a huge hit career-wise with the HWA. A lot of people don't realize this. I had agents that said, I would sign you, but because you're HWA and you're president or whatever, vice president, I'm not going to sign you.
Why?
I don't agree with the HWA's politics, or it's too, yeah.
I do remember that recently there was a whole thing.
Kerfuffle. Yeah.
I've only been in the space, this creative space, for like 5 years now, 5 years now.
Me too.
So when I entered into this space, like around 2021, and I got to know, my friends, the cool kids. like I heard kind of in the background a kerfuffle going on,
Yeah.
a brouhaha, if you will.
Always one. There's always
Horror
something.
Writers Association, for those who didn't know what HWA stood for, not Hoosier Wrestling Association. So, Horror Writers Association. Everything comes back to wrestling. No, but like, so I mean, obviously you probably don't want to get too deep into it, but generally speaking, what was some of the things that were a hindrance, maybe in a frame that could help an author understand what communities are joining?
Yeah, I think the biggest pitfalls to look out for is, really the publishing world, and learning like which publishers are legit, who's been taken advantage of, who's not paying people, learning what the expectations are. I think that's really the value of joining any organization like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a challenge because writers and horror people don't want to be led. Just by the very nature of writing this stuff, you're not looking to be led. You are your leader. You want to be in your own world, forging your own path.
We are playing God. I said that earlier.
Yeah. So I don't want to join some institution where these people think they got it all figured out and they're gonna tell me, and I don't know. So it's a challenge. But I think one of the best things for a new writer, if I would say the same with anything, it's about the relationships that you make, more so than whatever the college you might go to or whatever club you might join. It's all about the people you meet there along the way and those connections. And for me, if you're joining a group like that, try to find a local chapter and meet people. You don't necessarily have to pay the ridiculous amounts of money to go to conventions and, mortgage your car to go to a convention for 2 days. But a lot of them have local chapters. Go meet people. That's what it's about. Or go online, go to their website and, or to their Facebook or whatever and meet the people. Because that's really where they excel, is bringing people together who have like-minded interests. And, some people are a few steps ahead and they can help you through some of the guidance, some of the dark parts. And also the flip side is a lot of folks will say, well, why should I mentor? Why should I give anything back? And I think the biggest thing I always tell people, because they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to give all my knowledge away free to some kid and they're going to take my job. No, what you're really giving is you're getting inspiration too. It's like you're getting that passion back and you're reigniting yourself. And again, if you're closed to learning at that point, you're at a deficit.
Oh, yeah.
So if you feel like you can bring somebody and help them out, not in an arrogant sort of way, but if you feel like, more of a sensei kind of way, I mean, that's an amazing gift. And I think it's very rewarding.
Yeah, it is.
So I think those are the benefits. They all have pitfalls. There's not going to be a perfect organization for everybody. There can't be.
Organizations are made by people. There's no perfect people. So
right, exactly.
By nature, they're flawed.
Exactly, and I think they all live and die by the success of the membership. The leadership to a degree, but it's really the members that drive these things. And same with conventions. If the attendees, if you go to a convention and you're not meeting anybody and you're just watching passively panels and going home, you're going to feel like, what did I it was okay, but I could have watched a web show, So I think those are the big benefits I would tout for people. And a lot of people might say, well, why did you leave, John? Right? A lot of people have asked me, like, why did you step down and decide not to run anymore? I felt it was a natural time for the organization. I had been in the organization for 15 years in varying capacities, and in the top parts for 5 years. And I felt this big shift coming in horror. And I said, it's time for a new leader here. I think that we need new voices, a new leader. I think it'd be great to take everybody out and have new people in, bring new ideas, and just literally change hands. I think it's time, because that's what horror does well, and we've done all this. I'm like, they'll be fine. The boat's not going to crash. They're going to figure it out. Let's have faith in people and the people coming behind us. If we don't have faith, then they give them that, give them that nod of approval and say, I know you can steer this ship. I know you can run the engine. I know it's going to be different, but I know you're going to bring yourself to it. And that's one of the conversations I had with, John Edward Lawson and Angela and Lisa, who is now there too. Is just bring yourself to it. listen to people, in any leadership role. I think that's the best thing you can do. Listen to the people. I think we're seeing in this country too a big we won't get into it too much, but there's a big feeling like leaders are doing all the thinking and everything for people, and I don't think that that's healthy. I think that the people, if a good leader listens to the people and says, this is what they need, this is what we want, how can we implement this, how can we bring what they're expressing their best interests are to us, how can we bring that to life for them,
Exactly.
and that, to me, that's paramount. Even if you're leading one-on-one, look, we can lead people one-on-one, in a mentorship capacity. So anyway.
Well, no, like you've made some incredibly like points that like I personally reflect on and had dealt with even just in the last couple of days. That's how poignant your words truly are. But I think it's important that people realize that, and we get it, there's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of how-to out there, and how-to can be valuable even in a monetary sense. But just because you can charge for your knowledge doesn't necessarily mean that you have to. Doesn't mean you necessarily should. I don't fault anyone who has a 30-minute course on their website that only costs $35.99 and you want to monetize the value that you've acquired. No shade. Do your thing. But at the same time, that's one of the beautiful things about couch conning, as you coined it, is that is all free knowledge. Like our conversations with me and Sako, the things that started this very show, were just sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, sharing experiences on Sako's Discord. There's a few different Discord servers where it's literally just a bunch of writers, some of them are experienced, some of that are not, and we're just passing out advice like it's candy on Halloween. And that's how I think it should be. My mantra has always been like someone had their hand out and lifted me up that ladder we were talking about earlier and helped me along and got me into this space. So it's wrong of me to grab with two hands as opposed to reaching back and helping pull somebody else up with me. I'm a little braggy, but I get to brag on my a friend of mine from like high school. Her name was Brittany Hardy, and she wrote a very, very powerful book. She reached out to somebody, and they're like, I don't know what to do with this thing. The guy knows my mom. My mom knows me, of course. And he's like, hey, my friend's son's a writer. He might know some ways to help you. So I talked to her. I formatted her book. We caught up. I formatted her book, and I'm like, you know what? Now that you've put this book out and you've published it, make sure you're out in the world. Go to these conventions and meet other people. In fact, this convention has an award. You can go ahead and put your book in for nomination. Her book was announced on Wednesday as a finalist for an Imagine Award. And I stole the pleasure of being able to call her and tell her, hey, congratulations, your book's up for an award. And I got to pass that to her, and I got to hear her cry on the phone about how joyful she was that it went from just getting her pain out on paper to now being able to celebrate an achievement that she never thought she'd have. And the joy that I got from that, like I take no credit. She wrote the whole damn thing. That's all her book. That's all her. But the joy I get for knowing that I led someone down a course that brought them so much joy. Like there's just no greater reward than that. So the people who are like, oh, I don't want to share my knowledge. Hey man, you're missing out. Sure, you might have got a couple of dollars off of that, but you'll spend those couple of dollars after a while, and then you'll have no more money left from it. I'll have that joy, and I'll have the sound of her excitement for the rest of my life, and that's priceless. So
I'm with you, and I'm of the philosophy of give it all away with knowledge.
Which I can't keep the knowledge when I'm dead.
The concept of we're all compatriots. Like there's enough room on the shelf for all of our books.
Exactly.
Like we can help each other or we can gatekeep, and I'd rather not gatekeep.
Why bother?
too much
extra
work.
Exactly. It's too much work.
Forget that.
Oh,
I'd
no.
rather be working on my stuff and worrying about that than, trying to keep somebody out of what,
Yeah.
Because
Why?
that person might be the one who has that idea, and they're like, hey, I just had this dope idea. I want you to help me make this a thing. And then you're riding that wave with them. You started the water moving, they grabbed you along the wave, you're all surfing together. Like,
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
man. That's the beauty of community.
Yeah, and we need more books. We need more writers. We need the community to keep going beyond us.
Oh, yeah.
Or else we wither. Imagine if the next generation stops reading and writing books. What happens to us? Nobody's going to read our stuff anymore. And then we wither and die along with it.
We die in obscurity.
And what fun is that? We want longevity in that way, and we want to know what we're working on may have some long legs past us. Sorry, I don't know, that was bad. But anyway, but seriously, good stuff all around.
Looking at the genre today, what excites you most about where horror is heading?
The penetration that it has. I think that it has kind of bloomed and shrunk over the years, and moments like in the 80s. We've all heard about the 80s horror boom, and then it went away, and then there was one early in the 90s, and it kind of went away, and now this one has stuck around longer than any other booms we've had, and it shows no signs of slowing down, and not just in film. The book numbers are exploding.
Yeah.
And they're not, it's not like it doesn't feel like this is, the mainstream's going to dally with us. Oh, I like Jason Voorhees. Ha ha ha. Okay, next. Or I'm going to be Ghostface for Halloween this year, and then next year I'm going to be Britney Spears, or whatever. No shade on Britney, but it's just like some of those horror icons became kind of pop figures in that way. Yeah. But now we're seeing horror really entrenching in a way, where it's even becoming a lifestyle for people, and say what you will. Some people say this, the Disney horror. I love the Disney horror stuff. What's wrong with Haunted Mansion's brilliant. I love it. Nightmare Before Christmas. These are amazing properties, and they connect with people for a reason. And I think I love that. But even the darker horror, there's the whole splatter punk and extreme horror group. They're rabid, and that's becoming mainstream and okay.
Terrifier is mainstream. That sentence itself highlights everything you just said. Terrifier is mainstream. There is a point in time, as you were saying, you were alluding to. There's a point in time where only the truest of horror fans and even the deepest levels of them would watch Terrifier. Yeah. Terrifier would never have made it as a mainstream movie. It would never get the mainstream publicity. It would just be that niche DVD, straight to DVD movie series that the real horror fans talked about. It'd be on the level of how we view Cannibal Holocaust today.
Yes, exactly. Spot on.
I was listening to Dr. AC Horrors 101 and their review of Cannibal Holocaust just yesterday, as a matter of fact. Shout out to Aaron. But that is a highlight. The fact that Terrifier, of all things, as anybody who's ever seen Terrifier 2 in particular knows exactly what I'm talking about. I've not yet seen 3, but I heard 3 is even worse. But the fact that Terrifier 2 is as dark and gory and as messed up as it is, just that one bedroom scene, and anyone who's seen it already know that reaction by itself, that tells you everything you need to know. That one bedroom scene exists in a mainstream movie franchise. That is wild. That is mainstream. And that's how deep this is going. And how, if that's mainstream, horror is here to stay. Yeah,
it is. Absolutely. And we're seeing Bill Hader is making a horror film, and it's just
is he?
Yeah. And I think it's becoming a very, the other thing, let's talk about this then. The big legitimacy of horror this year with Sinners, Academy Award. Whoa!
16.
Right? Yes, a vampire movie. A vampire movie that is very black. That is so very, very unflinching, that is raw,
Unapologetically.
that is mean in places, and heartbreaking and beautiful, all at the same time, getting that nod. I stood up. I threw my freaking magazine into the air, and when I saw that nomination, I was like, yes, because for years we had, well, the Silence of the Lambs. Okay, I love Silence of the Lambs, but it's a stretch to say it's a horror. It has horror elements, yada yada. I love it. It's great.
It's a psychological. It's a procedural thriller.
Yes, with horrific elements, right?
Yeah.
Of course. But Sinners is like, I'm horror.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. I love it. And you know,
we've talked about Sinners when we did a review of it recently. But like, it's horror on so many different levels. So there's so many different things that legitimize it as a film, just as a film, as a storytelling vehicle. But to then see it get any sort of mainstream nomination, let alone that many, like we said, horror's here to stay. Like, you can, and I love the way you said that. You said the legitimization of horror, because for the longest time, the three of us know it, both as now that we're in the horror space or as fans of horror, we know that for the longest time, horror was like, oh, like scary stuff. Like monster movies and whatever.
Yeah.
And it gets dismissed kind of in the same realm that pro wrestling does. It's like, oh, that fake fighting stuff. And like, okay,
here we go.
It's choreographed, yes, but it's not fake. Trust me. Ask Dross, ask Owen Hart, ask Stone Cold Steve Austin why he doesn't wrestle anymore. Ask all these people who are out on injury every, couple of years. Ask people like Soraya and Edge and Christian and Bryan Danielson, who had their lives changed and their careers ended from real life neck injuries. That's not fake. When you are risking the ability to hold your child again, Big E, top of the game for the New Day, doesn't wrestle anymore. Neck injury off of one suplex on the outside. That's it. One German suplex ended his career that easy. It was done. He's lucky he didn't need surgery. He's lucky he still has good quality of life. Some people, not that lucky.
Yeah.
And definitely. All that's to say, as fake as it is mainstream to most people who aren't fans, that's the same light that it's like, oh, it's like fake blood and monster, like plastic masks and people going, ooga booga, and then whatever. And it's like, no, it's deeper than that.
Yeah, and think about that. There's a huge parallel with horror and pro wrestling.
There really is.
Think about the acting talent, right? In the 80s, when Hulk did a movie, ha ha ha, it's stupid, right?
Yeah, he did Mr. Nanny,
but
like he did Thunder in Paradise or something like that.
Right. And no disrespect, we loved the guy or whatever back then. Back then.
We loved him in the 80s. Yeah, we loved him in the 80s.
And then there was, anyway, we won't get into that.
Right.
But now, look at some of the amazing talent that's come out of, and it's not seen as a bad place to start. Like David Bautista's acting. Oh my, he's terrific.
He was great in horror. He was great in Knock on the Cabin.
Knock on the Cabin. He's so good.
Great movie.
So good.
Great movie.
And honestly, I love The Rock. I think The Rock is terrific when he's cast correctly.
Yeah.
I'll put that caveat there. When he's cast correctly, he's terrific. And I loved his short-lived show that they had about his life. But the bigger picture here is just like horror. You could come out of that and be seen as legitimate. John Cena, terrific actor. The Peacemakers, unbelievable. Some of the places he goes with his acting in that. And you're thinking to yourself, this was a wrestler. This was the meme guy, right? For a long time, you're seen as a big meathead and stupid, but they're transcending in the same way horror is, and they're being considered legitimately again for Academy Awards, for big roles, for complex, real acting roles, not just stunt casting to sell tickets.
And I think The Rock's up for. I think his movie, The Smashing Machine, that's up for an award now.
Yeah.
So that again ties into the whole thing, legitimizing The Rock as a solid actor when cast correctly. And it legitimizes like, oh, this is a movie with the wrestler in it. We can talk about the fact that Dave Bautista was in Marvel. And those Guardians of the Galaxy movies are fantastic.
Yeah, and he stole every line he got, didn't he?
Excellent.
So good.
Execution.
And he had you in the heart at the end of that series. You were crying, and he did He did it all anyway.
But that just goes to show
Talk
how people who fall into a niche, whether that niche is something like wrestling or it's something like horror, that people like kind of dismiss as like, oh, it's that thing. It's legitimized. It's like, yeah, it's that thing. That thing has 16 nominations at the Academy Awards. You like the last movie, you like Titanic. It's about to win the same movie awards as Titanic. It's going to crush the Oscars, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't care who you are. Sinners is about to crush the Oscars. Get used to Michael B. Jordan in that space. He's about to kill it.
Man,
but that just shows you where someone like Michael B. Jordan, who goes from doing Creed movies and all the other things in his filmography, and he goes into horror, that's not going to kill the career of Michael B. Jordan. You know what I mean?
No,
that's one of those fears that we had from those 80s movies. It's like, oh, if I do this, who's going to hire me after that?
Yep.
Rocky Horror. Yeah.
Yeah. Like who's gonna put me in Susan Sarandon and Barry Bostwick? I mean, they're in Rocky Horror, but look at their careers after that. Who doesn't love Susan Sarandon? But that goes into showing the exact point I think you were making, that horror is this thing off in the cut to most people. At least it was. And now it's not a death knell. It's no longer the end of your career. It is the career. It's the career to have. There's a hell of a space and a public appeal. Money can easily be invested into horror, whether those are horror books, horror movies, horror bookstores. Like I said, Jenny was just on the show yesterday. There's money here to be had. There's a huge market here of creativity that is real and raw and relevant. And that's the beautiful part. It's relevant.
And yeah, to big piggyback off of that, I think that one of the things that people are saying about Sinners now is, oh, horror can reflect things and it can really do things that no other genre can do and illuminate things. I'm like, we've only been saying that for decades. And now you're coming in and using our sound bites and acting like you just this big revelation. It's like, we've known this. We've known this. But you were always putting us down. It's like, oh, it's junk and there's nothing to it. There's nothing to Jason and all. No, there's this commentary. Oh, it's not. It's garbage. Dawn of the Dead. It's just zombies. No. No. These are the things we've been hearing for years. And now suddenly, they're, all the critics are like, oh, wow, this is really good. And
like The Walking Dead was great. I loved how popular The Walking Dead was, but the commentary in The Walking Dead outweighed any sort of zombie effects that you could have possibly, like family dynamics, group dynamics, what happens when the structure of society falls apart, when every day could be your last day, when there's a huge struggle. What do you do? How far will you go to protect your family? How selfish can you be? How selfish do you have to be in certain situations? So many things were explored. What will you risk for stability? So many things societally were reflected in that series.
Yeah.
It's a horror series through and through.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you always felt that horror permeating every scene. You had that horror, that unique thing where you could lose it at any moment. Anytime. You weren't safe. That whole lack of safety. And that whole zombie genre is a brilliant example of how everything has changed with time, because we had the nuclear fear zombies, and then we had the capitalism zombies, and then we jumped to The Walking Dead, which is the daylight terrorism. Any horror can come at any moment, any time, for anyone. Fear that we've all been in the last 20 years feeling. So it really has changed. And now again, let's see where zombies go. We'll see. I think that there will be another iteration of zombies at some point that will flip everything on its head and do something brand new again. Just amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But we'll talk all day about that.
I have a present for you. I have five rapid fire questions that I'd love you to answer off the top of your head. First thought that comes to your head.
Oh man.
And I'm just gonna shoot them off. All right. So
okay.
Short fiction or novels?
Novels.
Psychological dread or cosmic terror?
Psychological dread.
Writing toward fear or toward meaning?
Meaning.
Community building or solitary creation?
Solitary creation.
Ooh. What keeps you writing, curiosity or necessity?
Necessity.
Ooh. And if you had anything new coming up that you'd like to promo, now is the time.
Now's the time. I don't have anything that I can think. Well, I have some
Requiem.
shorts. Oh well, yeah, that's already that should be coming in paperback soon.
Right, but still, it's still out there. We still want to tell
Yeah.
people about
Oh,
Yeah, Requiem is still out. The hardcover is going
ooh,
fast.
pretty.
They're going the way of out of printness, and with the whatever you call that
That's
now,
dope.
the printing on the pages. So these are getting rarer and rarer.
Yeah,
on
they
hardcover.
are.
I'm gonna need one of those.
Grab it. Yeah. That's probably the biggest thing. We're working on getting another book out there. Publishing is glacial. It really is. I since Requiem I'm on my 5th book since writing that. So just stacking them up, waiting for things to line up. So I'm hoping to have
Yeah,
another
I
one.
follow.
Anyway, yeah.
Also, if you were to recommend a horror movie for us to review on Thursday, what would you pick?
One of my favorite filmmakers is Jordan Peele. And I love, this is one of my absolute favorite movies of the last decade. I love Nope. This movie means a lot to me. I lived up in Santa Clarita for a long time, and they filmed a lot up there. And Key and Peele meant a lot to me and my son when he was in the hospital. He'd always like, let's put Key and Peele. And we would just laugh, and we loved him. But I think he's one of the, to me, there's the natural line of succession is Hitchcock, Spielberg, Peele, because I think he is one of the greatest suspense filmmakers. And I know some of his movies get, Nope didn't. Anyway, we probably get into that later. But I just like that it didn't have easy answers. It didn't spoon feed the story to people. It was complex. It made you think. I loved the acting. I loved the world. Anyway, big fan. I can't wait to see what he does next. I loved Us. I loved everything that he's done. Anyway.
And it's streaming on Fandango for free.
I have it somewhere, I think. I may not. I have to look for it. But no, I love Nope. I don't like it as much as Get Out. I think it goes like Get Out, Nope, Us. I have my things about Us. I was just talking to El Marie Wood about, because she was posting something about Us, and we had a small little conversation about like Get Out, Us, and Jordan Peele. Definitely a significant filmmaker in our modern time for a multitude of reasons. I can't wait to do another. I've actually, this is one of the first movies I get to do a double review on.
Oh, okay.
We haven't done it for this show. I did it for a different show.
Okay.
I did it for the Necronomicon.com with James Sabata and Don Guillory. I was on their Nope episode. I was also on their Menu episode. So I get to review this again. So it's gonna be dope.
Cool.
All right. John Palisano's work.
I was just gonna say, remind them, like, if he's available on Thursday.
If you're available on Thursday, then please to be joining us.
Cool.
For
Thank you.
The review.
Thank you.
Go for it, Sako.
Okay, John Palisano's work reminds us that horror isn't about what scares us. It's about what stays with us, what evolves, and what we choose to confront again and again. From the page to the community itself, his influence runs deep, and the conversation around horror is richer for it.
There he goes.
That's it for today's episode of Sako and the Moon Horror Podcast. Thank you for joining us as we explore the strange, the dark, and the creatively terrifying. Remember, stay bold. Hold on. Stir fear.
So close. So close. Have a good time, everybody.